All right. So excuse me a second, just setting up my camera here. Sorry for starting late today. But yeah, welcome back everyone to the Friday Open Studio design sessions. Again, if you're new around here, I say this in every stream, but if you're new around here, the whole intent of these live streams on Friday afternoons or Friday evenings is really to give you an opportunity, a window of time to work on something creative while I'm also working on my personal creative projects. So that said, kind of what we've been doing for the past several couple months, 2 months, give or take, 2 or 3 months, is working on this prototype that we have right here. This is an original design called the YX10. This particular variant is the M1. This is the second prototype of this design. It's just got a lot of refinements all over the place, but again, the new features with this design, if you're new around here, is a refined geometry, right? We have kind of an inline kind of edge here that goes from the nose to the wingtip, and this just refined plan form, refined build techniques, right? The nose of this aircraft looks so much cleaner than the original YX10. So this is really the M1 variant of this original design. It's got mechanisms internally, right? So you'll be able to see. We'll have to clean this up a little bit, but you have your upper mechanism here where if you pull back, you pull the canards back, I guess, and they go down. So this would be pitch up, right? And then this, when you push it in, it would be pitch down. On default, I like to keep it on pitch down because it just looks a little bit more interesting to me. On the lower side here, we have a leading edge flap drive. So this slides back and forth internally here. There's a mechanism. It's really concealed quite well at this point because we've built fairings over it, but it literally pushes the flaps up if you push it in, right? So if you do that, it pushes the leading edge flaps up, and then when you pull it, it makes them go down. This mechanism isn't very reliable, but it was a proof of concept for this design, right? So like now the wing is like super low camber, but you can actually pull this bottom knob back and get slightly more angle in the leading edge flaps. And this, in a real fighter aircraft, this helps dig into the air kind of, and it allows the air to flow smoothly over the wing without separating, which would cause a stall. So this is kind of the two, these are the two main mechanisms to this design. If you're new around here, again, we're just kind of going over what we've done so far in the past up until this point. But this is looking pretty good. The bottom also houses, a lot of structure here in the middle to protect that mechanism. And you might also notice that there are tricycle landing gear that we built into the design. And these were the product of a lot of long streams in the past couple of weeks. So I actually haven't been streaming since December 21st, but Happy New Year, guys. Forgot to mention that. And it already feels like an extension of 2020 instead of 2021. But anyways, we're back this week. We're going to continue working on the landing gear, but just a recap of what we did for these 3 tricycle landing gear. These 2 in the back are essentially the same thing, so I'll explain one of them later. But the front one is actually slightly different from the rear landing gear here in the tricycle configuration. So this one, if you notice, it actually opens up like this instead of like this. So the direction is reversed, but what is constant between these two designs is that the anchor point is in the back. So actually, for the front landing gear here, with the retractable, pretension design, it's the way it's set up is there's a fulcrum. You imagine like this little bit here, this little coil, orange coil, right? Imagine that coming down a little bit off the base, right? And then this rubber band pulling a piece of white um, metal here on the other side of that fulcrum, which reverses the direction of the landing gear. And that's kind of what happened right here. So you'll notice that actually this fairing right here in the front, this was not part of the original design. Originally, this aircraft was supposed to be very aerodynamic, like very thin and very slender in the front. But this fairing had to be added because of that, the directional reversal of this landing gear in the front, not in the back, in the front. That actually required more thickness, right? So we're trading this compact, thinness in design for length in the back, right? So in the front, we're actually trading, instead of that, having this long uh, segment where you need to build a fairing over, we're trading that for height, right? So this, imagine that coming like a little bit back here. And so it's just a little bit more, I guess, slightly modified compared to the back. But that's the kind of the whole idea. So I will say, like, the back ones, I feel like they turned out a little bit better because I actually had some experience building, this one first, and then, using the same techniques here. We have shock absorbing landing gear, right? They have a pretension element to them that makes them naturally want to come out to pop out, right? And that's why we need to build fairings in the next couple of streams to finish this off. Hopefully the design is very similar so that we can just copy it and do it, mirror it, and then build on each side here. But yeah, the front is definitely interesting. It's different. It's also slightly weaker. This nose gear is not very strong. It's a single rubber band, just like the back, except it's a direct connection, right? It's not a double folded elastic band here, like in the back. In the back, this configuration of folding the rubber band back on itself actually yields a pretty strong pretension element here. And then, there's going to be people asking, like, where did you get these elastic bands? As a kid, I had braces, and that's kind of the answer. So these are actually really good for retaining their elasticity over time. They're just very durable and resistant to extreme conditions because, this is supposed to be in your mouth when you have braces to correct your overbite. But now we're repurposing these elastic bands for, landing gear. And so it actually bounces quite nicely in the back, Normally it'd just be like clunk, but now it's like there's a little bit of bounce. You can't really do that for the nose because this actually, once you bounce it, it's a little bit weak. It can't, lift itself back up. So this, I need to improve this in the next iteration. But for this prototype, for this design right now, I think it's more than good enough. It's a proof of concept, and it looks great. I think, once you look at it, standing on a surface, I can try and pretend, without removing my camera from the stand here. It actually looks quite nice, like just standing on a flat surface. That didn't really work, but you get the idea. If you look at these three and pretend that they're on a flat surface, it has a lot of presence, right? It's it looks like an actual airplane. So actually, let me put the white background in there, so now you can see it a little better. So yeah, it looks absolutely amazing, and it's actually functional too. That's the amazing part about this, I feel like. It's one thing to make like fixed landing gear, but it's another to make a mechanized one that actually is very strong and can handle the loading from the rest of the plane. But yeah, overall, this is a very interesting, very successful design, I feel like. But we do need to continue working today to get the fairing done over these, two rear landing gear here. And then after that, we need to mount vertical stabilizers and then do some finishing touches. So I'm envisioning this build to be finished around end of January, early February-ish timeframe. Um, Again, that's a rough timeline. It might go later if we spend more time, right? So that's obviously just how it goes. But this is looking really good. Very, very nice build. This is probably my favorite build so far. And I always say, like, you should do work that inspires yourself, right? You shouldn't, settle for the status quo. You should always try and strive for something better. And I've never done this before, right? These mechanized pretension element landing gear. So that's a pretty interesting development. I really like it, and I really hope you guys enjoy it too. At some point, I'll make a full video for this. I still need to make a video for Rapid Prototype 004, which I actually surprisingly shot the video already. It's just I need to edit it. I also need to make a video for the X47B that I made on live streams a couple months ago at this point. But those videos are shot on my full frame camera, so hopefully the video quality will be a lot better and you guys will enjoy that. But the mic, the sound is a little bit off, but we'll make do. We'll see if you guys have any comments on that when the time comes. So I have 2 videos in progress, right? Just when I'm not building these things, I'll be editing video, and I guess here we'll just work on the prototype itself. So with that said, that's kind of where we are in the state of this channel in terms of things that are going on. Right now, I guess we can just dive straight into work on the YX10 M1, specifically the fairing for the landing gear to keep the landing gear legs in place during flight mode, which is going to be a interesting time. Fairings are a little bit complicated, but they're not impossible. We built one for the front, right? It just has to be really precisely made and crafted. So we can dive into that now. Again, this is an open studio design session, so it's really intended for you to also participate in the sense that you should be working on your own projects. You're sitting at a desk just listening into this stream as a podcast of sorts. And if you have any burning questions about technical details and things like that, feel free to send them in through the chat. And it's supposed to be kind of a studio environment, so there's a back and forth. I answer questions that you may have, and I ask you guys questions or opinions and things like that. So with that said, I'm gonna get started here with the rear fairing design here. I think we left off last time with this little piece right here, which was designed to mimic this little region ahead of the landing gear. So we're gonna build a fairing that covers this entire thing, but it needs to really mold itself to this white piece when it's stowed, right? So to do that, it's going to be up front here around this area. And I think what we did was we grabbed the shape of the little edge here and kind of found that, and just it's kind of, the leading edge slats are kind of in the way, so I'm going to push them up just to get them out of the way for a little bit. We'll definitely retract it. I like the leading edge flaps retracted because it gives it kind of an aggressive fighter aircraft look once it's in a turn, right? Or during takeoff too. All the 5th generation fighter aircraft have leading edge flaps to help them move better through the air. All right, so this is looking interesting. Not sure where we left off last time, but this is the general idea here. I think there's a little piece of tape there so we can visualize how this is all gonna fit together. So this white piece comes down, and this little cover thing goes over, but you also need like a pointy nose for that cover. So it's a little bit complicated, but that's where we thrive, is in complexity. You know, it's interesting because a lot of times designers and engineers, they say, you know, simplicity is, you know, the ultimate sophistication. That's a quote from Leonardo da Vinci. But you look at modern engineering systems, especially aircraft, right? They're super complicated. And you might be wondering why that is. And, you know, it's just the more complicated you get, the more features you can get out of it, right? That should be pretty common sense. But, you know, in a passenger aircraft, you want safety above all else, right? So if a part fails, let's just say, for example, right, 1 in 100 chance of failing, you build in a safe, you know, like a fail safe for that feature that is also 1 in 100, and then you just kind of multiply the probabilities of the entire system failing, and you get 1 over 100 squared, which is 1 over 10,000, and that's a lot more acceptable in terms of risk, right? So it's kind of the concept behind complexity there. You get more out of the entire thing, but the trade-off is cost, right? You have to spend time to design, develop, and manufacture and distribute, you know, these things. So just a side tangent there. So this is looking all right. This is looking okay. It's not great. It's not a very definitive shape, but it should give you an idea of what this will kind of look like. Yeah, that's gonna look great. I feel like we want to replicate this shape on the other side, so we get started by doing just that. Well, maybe not actually, but we'll have to do some prototyping. We can't come up with the final answer right now. If you know, if I could do that, I would, but I'm not a genius, right? I just tinker with things. I'm not very smart, but I'm willing to try and fail and prototype. So, not to get all preachy on you guys, but you get the idea. It's a part of the process, failing. So this is a good thing. It's a nice solid scrap piece of paper. I really hope we can do this in today's session. We need to make some good progress if we are to finish by the end of January, and I have a good feeling we will, but we still need to put that hustle in to make sure it happens. This thing is almost done. I'm looking for an eraser, which, oh, okay, I found it. It was hiding under my microfiber cleaning cloth. Yeah, that's the tough thing about living in an apartment with carpet, is that there's dust everywhere. You need to instantly wipe down everything. Anyways, that was a tangent. I'm just erasing some of this drawing on this template, on the scrap piece of paper, just so I can not confuse myself. So that was not good. I just ripped the piece of paper here. but we don't really care too much about that. We have more than enough space to get a prototype in here. Again, prototyping is a very rough process, right? You don't want to, I guess, in a sense, make a finished product because it's not the final thing. And we're still working with printer paper, which is really just regular 8.5 by 11 office supply paper. So we're prototyping with cheap materials, and once we get the shape right, then we transfer the template to a final cardstock grade, aircraft grade material here. And then we make the final part, which will be incredibly strong and incredibly stiff. So that's kind of the process. Just taking a look at the chat. There's nobody asking any questions or anything. It's a quiet Friday. It's the first stream of the year, so kind of excited to see what I do this year. But yeah, the future's always exciting when you're a designer. You always think about what's next. But sometimes it's also good to appreciate how far you've come. So I think, yeah, actually this side might be better. Okay, I think I saw a comment there. Very exciting to see what you think of. Thanks. For those of you who don't know, Benjamin Rogers is a longtime, viewer of this channel. He's been supporting my projects for a long time, several years at this point. I think, I don't remember when exactly he discovered my channel, but it was a couple of years ago, I would say. Like maybe 4 or 5 or 6, not sure. It's been a long time, but he also has his own channel, so I highly recommend checking it out. It's P.A.C paper planes. He does something similar, except he has his very unique design language, and I recommend you guys subscribe to him if you're interested in this stuff. So I don't know what I'm trying to do here. I think I'm just flailing around at this point, but yeah, I'm just gonna zoom in a little bit closer here, and sorry, the camera's shaking a little bit. It's mounted on an arm, so sometimes when I apply too much force, the arm just vibrates with the phone. And yeah, you get that camera shake. So there we go. Okay. So it doesn't really matter. We could go a little further out, right? We're just trying to get an accurate, or not even accurate, we're just trying to get a rough, completely opposite of accurate. We're trying to get a rough idea of what we need here. Slowly increasing our template size and trying to figure out what shape is going to be the best here for what we're about to make. "2014, right, was when I found your channel." I thought so. That's over 7 years ago. That's a long time. Wow. Time flies when you go through high school, go through college. It's really kind of amazing. 2014. Back then, I was in high school. I didn't really make too many videos in high school. I actually made a lot in middle school and early high school, but now I'm actually working at a aerospace engineering company. I don't design planes, unfortunately. That would be the dream, right? To get a job at Boeing or actually not Boeing because they're kind of going downhill nowadays, but um, at Lockheed or Northrop, you know. And I do have colleagues from college that ended up in those places, but it's highly competitive to get into those companies. You gotta have proper research experience and things like that. And for now, I'm working at an engine company. So aircraft companies view us as suppliers, but we view ourselves as the company that even makes flight possible in the first place. Because, I mean, that's really true. We're what enables flight. Your plane can go Mach 2, great, but like, how is it flying? Can't fly without engines, right? So, yeah, it's quite exciting nowadays because I actually got transferred uh, from my team on the commercial side to the military side. So I'm actually working on the F-35, uh, the engine for the F-35 right now. So that's pretty exciting. But I will say it's like definitely a change in pace of like work. It's a lot more intense, the military side. So just a lot to learn. Um, it's my first full week with with the new team. So interesting times. So yep. That's pretty cool. All right. Looks decent. This is really weird looking, right? It doesn't really make a lot of sense right now, but when we fold it up, these panels will start to make a little bit more sense. Again, you can do this all in like CAD to get an exact shape that you want, but the point of me doing this right now is that the idea is that you can work with these very simple materials, very readily available materials, right? This is just printer paper. This is cardstock. It's like $4 for like 50 sheets. And you got popsicle sticks, $7 for 1,000 of them. These are very economical materials, and it's amazing what you can do with these very basic materials if you just spend some time tinkering, right? So I saw another comment here. Just want to reach out to Multimedia. Says you and this channel is just really inspiring for me. Thank you. Hey, well, I appreciate the compliment. That's really what I'm here to do, is to create beautiful things and hopefully inspire the next generation of engineers and scientists. And even if you don't go into those fields, just an appreciation for beauty in everyday things, that's already, a win for me. Because if you can appreciate the little things in life, we're using very basic materials right now. If you can appreciate the simple things in life, then, get a lot more out of life. um, it really started with a desire to just create things, right? I started with like a dart paper airplane, added on extra wings, like, and things. You can look back, some of my projects were very old at this point, but they were not that great. But, just the desire to want to build and to improve over time, that's what got me here to this point where you see like this and you're like, wow, that's so advanced. Like, how did you get there? And my answer is just simple. It took years to get to this point. But, I'm reaching out and hoping to inspire people too to explore this hobby. It's not really like a very popular hobby. It's like a very niche thing to do, making paper airplanes that aren't like origami folded paper airplanes. Like, because a lot of people stereotype paper airplanes into that like kind of category, and I don't think that's very representative of what I do, right? Because what I do here is really just to work with all sorts of office supplies and very cheap, very economical materials and create something great and cool out of them. So This is kind of the fairing that we're working on right now for the lower half of the YX10 M1 Astra design. This is kind of what we have. We're just trying to give these rear landing gear a aerodynamic cover, right? And hopefully by the end of today's stream we'll be able to get that, but if not, I'll just keep on working on it a little bit in the off hours. I'm not sure if I'll be able to do multiple streams per week, but you get the general idea. It's just a lot of tinkering to figure out if things work. So I'm just gonna get a little bit of caffeine real quick. All right. So this is kind of what it looks like. Right, it's supposed to fit right about here and go back. So I'm actually gonna cut this. Again, this is a prototype piece, so it's not very high risk in that sense, right? We cut out a little slot here. You can actually wrap it around. Hopefully that's the right width. Okay, it's a little bit narrow, but you get the idea here. The whole just is to wrap it around that. That's actually quite perfect. Wow, I just eyeballed that length there. So that's another thing with this hobby that you gotta kind of put work into to get good, is that you know it's worthwhile to learn how to eyeball things. You know, measurements are great, they're exact, but they take time, right? And when you're rapidly prototyping, you don't necessarily want to spend that time. You want to get a quick yes or no, is this going to work, right? So this is okay. This is going to be interesting. I don't know how I'm going to handle this, because we need to keep the landing gear down here and kind of wrap over everything in a neat package. Just checking comments here. All right, nobody has any questions. All right, that's good. So this is that leading edge. I think it looks pretty nice. It fits really well. It's I think all we need to do now is maybe fold this in half. Yeah, fold this piece in half and then see how well that comes down. So this geometry is quite convoluted. I don't expect you to memorize this and use this. I expect you to, if you want to learn, expect you to learn the process behind coming up with this geometry, right? Just the tinkering process, saying, okay, we'll just start here, we need a little bit more there, and you know, because everything that you make is going to be different from what I make here. You can try and copy exactly, but even I can't make this again, most likely. So each plane is kind of custom made in that sense, so it's not a very precise art in that sense of the word. But it is tinkering. It is a lot of work, right? So you got to adapt your build process to the situations that you encounter, right? That's the whole point here. Okay, so I don't think I need this middle part, so I'm actually gonna get rid of that. Again, it's a prototype, so it's low risk if we actually end up needing it. But that just cleans up this little piece a little bit better, so that, you know, we can work with our plane here. So this, you know, this little notch wraps around the landing gear here. Honestly, if we planned this out better. We should have built the landing gear and the fairing into one pod before just attaching it whole to this aircraft. But we already mounted the landing gear to the aircraft, so we're not gonna take it off at this point. We're gonna build around that. This looks okay. I think the main issue that we have right now is the fact that these landing gear are popped up. They're not in their retracted state, so we need a little bit of tape to make them stay in the retracted state. The only concern I have for that is when it's retracted and taped down, I'm not sure I can fit the template around to really test the fit properly, because it's going to be kind of stuck. So we'll just do that. This is temporary, this is not permanent, so I don't want to put it down too tough. But this is also a very strong retraction mechanism, so if you'll notice, it's actually pulling the tape and it's gonna detach, I feel like, but it should help us a little bit. Yeah, so that's what I was worried about. You can't really fit this in if you do that. Okay, so this is obviously not gonna work. I'll just keep that to the side for now. We'll see. Okay, so this is gonna come down, and then this is gonna fold up. This is gonna, oop, all right, so that's tough. All right, you need to calm down, landing gear. You need to stay down. Unfortunately, there's no easy way to do this. Really should have thought this manufacturing process through. There's no easy way to remove the rubber bands either, because they're tightly integrated here. But let's see. If we just wrap this around. Oof, that's a big oof. Okay, that's not too bad. We do need a little flap on that side, right? Like a little triangular piece that comes up, folds like that. And then on the other side, this isn't great. Ooh, yeah, that's not really great. Okay. Something like that, right? This is pretty complicated here. Okay, I'm just taking a look again. Sometimes if you step back from the problem, you might be able to find a different solution. So I'm just stepping back for a little bit, seeing if there are alternative ways to do this. Okay. Let's see this. This does fit. It's just I think in the future we might have to build in some sort of mechanical stop into this design here. This is a little bit tedious to fix every time. So like maybe a rotating bit that rotates into this little gap that prevents the landing gear from wanting to pop out. Just for the future, a note to myself in the future. I'm curious to see what would happen if I did this, folded this side up a little bit more, because we kind of let it lie flat last time. But this little notch fits over, right? But instead of this side being flat now it's going to be straight up, coming straight out like that. That kind of looks like a wheel well of sorts. And we could tape that together. Okay, just do a test fit here of what that looks like when these two edges are secured together. This is not going to be structurally sound, but just for the purposes of figuring out the proper topology, the proper geometry and shape and organizational aspects here, the layout, right? I just threw like a bunch of synonyms at you guys, but you get the point. Just testing out if this actually geometrically fits over the landing gear. It doesn't have to survive a lot. So if we just tape over that, get a little pointy bit here in the front, and I'll just do that. If this works, I will disassemble it and modify the template a little bit to fix up some rough edges or whatever, and then we'll make the actual fairing. But I expect this to take a little bit longer. This is not very straightforward as one may think. So this edge is actually a little bit tough to secure, because the tape is not very sticky, and you can't really apply a ton of pressure because that'll collapse the whole structure. All right, let's just see if this actually works. actually fits around this landing gear. I don't expect it to, but you might be surprised. Okay, this is not too bad, I guess. Oh, this is a struggle. Okay. I mean, for the most part, I think it does cover everything. All right. It does. I'm just fighting it a lot because this retract for this little landing gear is just very, very strong. Okay, so we know this kind of works. Right, so this little gap on the bottom wraps around that, and basically this has to be down when we slide it over. And let's disassemble this a little bit. Yeah, so this idea kind of works. I think we need a little bit more triangle on this side. So if we do a quick sketch real quick, that was redundant. But we need kind of a, let's see, how do we do this? Yeah, so this edge is right here. All right, so we need a triangle here. We need some sort of triangle here, and then the rest of the template goes down like that, right? At some point, there's a notch here. And then this side goes out like that, folds in half to cover the whole thing. This is so convoluted. Wow. And then yeah, this side also goes out like that. Ooh, that looks interesting. It looks like some sort of mansion or house or something with a little door here. I'm not an architect. I feel like in another life I could be an architect, but not in this life. I'm already an engineer, so. I could be like an architect of an engineering system. I know there are architects in my industry. They're just not architects in the broad sense of the definition. They are in charge of the tube layouts and the plumbing on the engines. Yeah. But anyways, I work at an engine company in case you're new around here, but didn't really get that reference. Let's see. All right. So something like that. This side can be a little bit less exact. It can be that's not what I meant to say. I meant to say it can be a little bit more thin. A little thinner. There we go. Use your words, Ben. Right, so this is what we have right now. Right, so something like that. Actually, let's flip this over. We don't really need this sketch. We just need to mirror this and copy the other side. Or not exactly, but you know, the idea. Yeah, we're just gonna extend it all the way down here to cover the entire structure here. This is interesting. That's gonna be a cut there. This is gonna be a little notch. Oh. Oh, all right, there we go. Okay, and this comes down here. This is not a very precise way of doing things, but you gotta do what you gotta do, you know. It ain't gonna be perfect. This isn't like, I see a lot of hobbyists out there. They like to use 3D printing as their be all, do all, you know. And it is a very powerful technology. I do want to leverage it at some point myself, but it's just knowing how to work with your hands, in a sense that, you know, you're working with the raw material instead of a computerized design. That's the art in what I do. And it, you know, people will say, you know, that's backwards, right? You have all this technology available to you, but there's something different about handcrafted things. There's just a little bit more soul in them. I feel like, you know, maybe that's me just talking nonsense, but I really do think there's a level of craftsmanship, and there's like a magic to handcrafted things. It's like when you look at an expensive automatic mechanism watch, right? It's like, okay, this thing moves and it's living and breathing and it's ticking, right? And yet you have, you know, you have craftsmen that make that, and it's kind of amazing what can be done by just your hands and a little bit of thinking, right? That's why they're so expensive. That's why those watches are so expensive, is because they have a lot of manual input, manual labor in the process. So this, I just gotta mark this real quick. I don't need this area, this rectangular area. I'm curious to see how this will work out. I feel like this is a lot of room in case I do need more material. I guess I could add like another tab here. This is a lot of paper for one fairing, but oh shoot. Oh no, my lead is fine. I just ran out there. So this is kind of the template that we're gonna go with. Again, I'm gonna try and find my eraser. There it is. It's hiding under the plane. We're gonna erase this line right here, and this one right here, and this one right here, just to not confuse ourselves. Because sometimes I do confuse myself and cut things where I wasn't supposed to cut. So just to make it clear, we are removing this piece. We are cutting this line and this line, and we are folding everything else. That's the only thing here. Is like, I'm drawing these lines. They're not meant to be like instructional. I just have to remember what I need from each line, each edge. If I were to make kits, right, like PDF plans, which I used to do, but now my projects are so complex, I don't have time to document everything and make PDF plans. Yeah, nowadays I just kind of do whatever and just fingers crossed, hope it works. It's not very professional, so to speak, but again, this is a hobby. I'm not a business yet. You might have noticed I said yet. If I am able to leverage 3D printing and, reliable methods of creating things, I might actually make kits. And if you're interested, drop a chat or comment if this is being watched at a later date. But I really do want to kind of pursue that idea, because if we can make reliable kits that you can just print out and sell, or I can sell the plans and you could 3D print yourself and assemble, then that changes this entirely, right? You can make very detailed things for very cheap. Um, well, it's going to cost you plastic and energy, right? 'Cause it takes electricity to run these 3D printing machines. But if I can do that, I feel like this channel is gonna explode a little bit, just because people are interested in aircraft, I guess, model aircraft, but they're also, there's also another group that's interested in gliders, right? In balsa gliders and things like that. But if we're able to like combine the two fields, make something that's beautiful, as a display model, as well as a flight functioning model, then I feel like there's a lot of opportunity there for development. And it's going to take a little bit to get there, to get where I want, right? To have the same magic of moving parts in the design, which, to be frank, it's very complicated to get moving parts to work with 3D printing. You just got to be very precise in your modeling. Also, that's the other thing. Modeling is not my strong suit in CAD, despite what people might say. I'm a very old school kind of guy, Like, I feel like part of me is like, I was born in the wrong time, really. If I had been born in like the 40s or 50s, when they're still designing planes by slide rule and things like that, I feel like I would be much better off. That sounds very cool and very interesting. Nowadays, like, we're bogged down by computers. Like, at my job, I'm just literally processing data, but then it's like the computers don't work half the time. And you're just like, okay, well, I know what to do. It's just I can't do it because of X, Y, and Z, and it's just not a fun time. But this is looking all right. Just gotta fold the leading triangular areas here. If this works, we're just gonna mirror this for the other side as a starting point, and then probably it won't fit 100%. So we need to do some sculpting there. Yeah, this looks interesting for sure. Okay, I should probably label which side's which. This is the port side. I just write port. Landing gear. You probably can't see that, but that's okay, because only I need to see that. But this is the port side landing gear cover, because this is actually, if you flip this over, that's the left side, which is port. And then starboard is your other side. So, all right. Sorry about that. I just had to sigh. This is quite tiring, if I do say so myself. You're leaned over, you're hunched over and making things on a bench, workbench. Okay, that kind of works. And then we're just gonna trim off the excess here. We will remove this for the transfer of the template to the final material workpiece, but just for now, yeah, let's see if the shape even works. And I think I'm about to have my answer. The answer is maybe. Yeah, so this needs to be deeper crease, deeper fold. And this will cover up like that. Oh, that actually looks decent. It doesn't look terrible. But it's just the question of, will this even work, right? So for now, I think we're gonna just attach a temporary piece on the other side. Hope that this actually is enough material. Alright, we can adjust the shape later. It's just the rough idea needs to work. So we're at 60 minutes, so that's 1 hour. So usually for these weekly streams, I go up until an hour, 2 hours and 10 minutes. So we'll see if that's, oh shoot, you know what I forgot? I forgot to, just kidding, I did not forget. All right, never mind, screw that. Okay, this is, oh my god, the struggle is real. Does this even, oh shoot, all right. Man, all right, so this is turning out to be a little bit more complicated than I expected. You know, another idea is to break up the fairing into multiple pieces. But for some reason, I don't trust myself to do that. I'm not trying to brute force this either. It's just really difficult to get this fairing to work because the landing gear just doesn't want to stay in. This is decent. This is not too terrible. Yeah, look at the front part, right? It's not too terribly clean, but I mean, is that, let's see, that's, well, it is a prototype piece. It's not made with the final materials. The final thing will look cleaner than this. I do need to make some cuts here and there. And geez, all right. Yeah, this thing really doesn't want to stay in place. Okay, so this needs to be a separate piece. I feel like we'll have to add something extra to that to cover that little gap up. For the most part, it should work. So I do need to cut down the middle here, which is unfortunate. I think the concept is okay. It's just the whether or not it's gonna work. I mean, this is an okay looking fairing. It's just, I don't know if it's gonna be reliable. The age-old question of will it work? I don't know. The answer is kinda. It'll kind of work. But we also don't need this entire piece here, if that's the case. I'm gonna do something risky, but I feel like it's warranted because we need to do this anyway. I'm gonna cut down the middle here because we need to let the landing gear out. If we let the landing gear out, it might sit better in the overall design. Right, so something like that. And so now we just fold that over the landing gear. Jeez, alright, that doesn't really work. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's reverse this direction. We're gonna reverse the direction of this fold. I'm gonna get rid of this piece of tape right here. Don't really need that. Flip this around. What the purpose of that reverse fold is to get a better angle on this piece. Because just seeing if this even works at this point. Might have to break this up into 2 parts, I'm not sure. Not really sure. This side is pretty clean. It's just this right side here. It's a little bit not that great. What happens if we stick this in? Okay. So it kind of fits. Let's reverse this one as well. These are mostly acting as handles now. They're not actually functional other than being a handle. But this should allow us to get a better idea of how the panel that's inside of it will kind of function. Interesting. What if we started from the back? I'm just throwing ideas around because I don't really know what I'm doing. Even though it might seem like I do, I actually have no idea. This is my first time doing this. It's gonna be a little adventurous. Let's start at the back. Worry about the front later. We have a rough template for the front right here. I'll just keep that around. But let's start in the back and see what we can do here. This is, what, 2 centimeters, 2.5? Yeah, 2.5. I like to make measurements that are nice and round, so I'll have like troubles later on. This is, okay, let's go with 1.5 to add some safe margin to both sides. One and a half. This here and here. Versus, not versus, times 2.5 here. This is just eyeballing. Do not recommend doing this. If you want really precise parts, you take the time and do that. But for me, I am just going to wing it. Let's see what happens. This is gonna fit like that. And yeah, we'll see how that works. Let's just cut this out for now. That's the thing, you approach problems from all sides, see if there's a good solution to this. Right, okay, so that fits around. Now, if we fold this up, okay, like that. This is gonna be interesting for sure. This kind of goes away here. So yeah, it kind of works. It's just you have to measure where the elastic band comes up. And for me, I don't like to measure, so I just mark out where it is. Once you have it, you just trim everything in front, because if we're building 2 parts, then you just keep it clear of the mechanism. Right, something like that. Shoot. Yeah, this is not very easy, is it? Let's see how the fairing does from the back. I'm just curious. I know this is not gonna work, but Sometimes I just like to stare at things and ponder very deeply for a long time before I come up with anything. So I apologize if this stream is like super boring because I do that. But that's literally part of the process, so I don't know what to say. I'm just going to do it, I guess. Find out a way to make this work. This is really tricky. This is not as easy as it looks. Just envisioning something that'll cover this. Okay, let's try this again. We need to really design for this piece. Just seeing how things work. This is not a very easy thing to do. Why? Why is it not easy? What am I missing here? What is the breakthrough that's going to get us across this bridge? Across this problem is the bridge, right? I'm not making any sense anymore. It's okay. Let's see. Let's go back to this idea here. What about this template isn't working? Let's see. Okay, this goes down. Great. This fits. Great. Now, okay, so it's a little bit narrow. We need to make it a little bit wider. This top piece needs, this little triangular piece needs a little bit more material to be able to grab onto the other side. Let me just, I have a crazy idea. What if we used straws, right? Let's see, I have a ton of black straws. Just like built something that wrapped around this. That's a very clean solution. It's just, I don't know. I don't know how we're gonna keep this in. If we can get this to work, this is actually a very clean solution. It's not very elegant, or maybe it is, who knows, until we execute, right? This is a interesting concept. This is actually, I don't know. Because that solves a lot of the modeling problems that we have, right? Because once we have this over, then we could just fair the heck out of this straw. And then once it's ready, make a cut down the middle. And a tab that slots into that hole to keep everything in place. It's going to be risky. It's gonna be risky. I also kind of want to see what it does to a larger diameter straw, which I don't have, unfortunately. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've gone to a Dunkin' Donuts. That's where I raid them for their straws. Alright, let's see what happens here if we use this straw instead. That's a good fit, I think. I feel like I would prefer almost the little black one here. Let's see. Let's just tinker a little bit here. So let me just keep this and move it back. Interesting. This is very, very interesting. So I'm thinking this is just a rapid prototyping idea here, but if we somehow get this straw to like do that, and if it slides back or slides to the side or whatever, like some sort of thing that holds this down, but then slides back. And we're also going to be incorporating this on the top, so it's not too out of the question, I guess. Just this is just not really. This is a interesting dilemma. I'm just pondering about this problem. Just gonna check the chat real quick. Yellow 14 ace. Is that a boat? Ah, man. I know you went to like sailing school, Peter, but like not everything's a boat. This is a plane. But you could be right, I guess, in a way. This is kind of like a boat. Just sails through the air instead of the water. Everything has to be smooth. That's the thing. If we could mount this on the top and mount the layer on the bottom here. You can have like a sliding cover, but I don't even know if that'd be strong enough to like handle this intense mechanism here. This is the challenge for sure. This is like solving a Sudoku puzzle or whatnot. What if you have a straw around the landing gear with a slit cut in it and have it rotated around to deploy the... Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's almost exactly what I was thinking, but it's like, how do you rotate it unless you do it from the front, right? And you can't do it from the front because this has to be smooth right here. So he's saying that like if we cut like a little slot here, it lets it go through, but you put it back in the slot, you rotate it, you lock it in place. That's actually very smart, but I don't know like how we're gonna be able to do that. Especially because the back here is so blocked by that, and the front here, I feel like the only place... Yeah, just excuse that. Somebody's car alarm is going off. But this is gonna be interesting because you fit it in, and you have to rotate it. How are you gonna rotate it, right? I'm just thinking about the user experience because you gotta rotate it here in the back, but it's... if you cut a slot and rotate, it's gonna like flip out outside of the slot. You kind of get what I mean? It's like if you cut a slot and it exerts a force in other direction, it's gonna rip the slot. So this is definitely an interesting problem. I will say though, I'm interested to see what the simplest solution is for this design. There's got to be a simple solution to this. It's literally just a cover. It's just how we're gonna do it. That's the main problem here. Okay, so what if we made a really tight piece that just comes down to a sharp fold here and goes back down. Let's start with that and then finish off the rest later, right? Okay, so let's go with that approach. All right. All right, I think this should be enough. Or maybe this way is a little bit safer. There we go, and then we fold this in half. This is without any handles or anything. Okay, So I'm just saying, like, if we have something like this, we just nailed down this fairing right here, and then this can be removed, and this in the back. I don't know what's gonna happen in the back, but let's just cut this off. Make a little clean little rectangle thing. Okay, we literally need the fairing cover thing to just do this. Everything else is purely aesthetic. So if we simplify down to this basic idea here. All right. I apologize for this boring procedure here of just testing out weird stuff. Okay. But legit, this is all we need, really. This vertical piece like that. But then again, if we use a straw, just see how this will work. I really don't see a way for this to work. I am stuck. I really hope I make something today. This is so sad. It's gonna be like 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and you guys just sit there and watch me make nothing. That would be the worst thing ever. Okay. New idea. Let's just simplify everything. This needs to go all the way up here. This needs to go all the way down here. Okay, so about here. That's where I'm going to draw a little mark. How wide is this thing? I think it's like 1 centimeter, something like that. How wide is this gap here? This is not quite 1. This is a little under 1. That's why it struggled to fit. But if it were 1 centimeter exactly, it would work, probably. Okay, so I'm literally just gonna... Two, so we need 5 centimeters here. Let's just work our way out step by step. That front fairing is just not a very clean solution. That's why I'm looking at alternative ways of crafting this fairing. Okay, there we go. Okay, that's good. 5 centimeters, 4 here, 3 here, 2 here, and 1 right here. Okay. I think a 1 by 1 by... No. Yeah, 1 by 1 by 5 box prism thing should do the trick. We're not even gonna make a box. We're gonna experiment the hell out of this thing. Good Lord. All right. I have a design for how to keep it in. It's just... why is this so difficult? Why do I make life hard for myself? Why do I even try? See, it's the cycle of self-doubt and achievement that it's like cyclical, right? Sometimes you achieve very cool things, make some really cool things, but then other times you're just stuck for ages. This is forward. I will mark that. It's forward. This is the port side. Port. Port. These are both port because they're on that side. They're on the port side of things. I'm gonna cut away that little thing. This is where an X-Acto knife is useful. Let's see. Yeah. This isn't great. Okay, yeah, maybe this will work. There we go. Looks good. We're just seeing how this idea is going to work out. I no expectations. This might take ages. This might push us back into late February, March, if I can't figure out how to do this damn fairing. But it's good learning. That's what I tell myself as I cry myself to sleep because of this incomplete project. Okay, so then that's gonna fit around this nice and neat. Yay! Okay, now I'm gonna take this up against the light. And draw a little edge here. It's not very accurate, but I think it should do the trick for the most part. Okay, so I do need to cut a little gap here. By a little, I mean a lottle. That was so dumb, I'm so sorry. But that little gap, if we fold this 90 degrees up, that'll cross over this little fulcrum thing. Which, oh god, now that I look at it, I don't think that's enough. I should just go to half here, half a centimeter, to just clear out of the way for that thing. Okay, let's zoom back in. Wow, 4 people watching this stream. Damn, that's quite a crowd. And I'm not being sarcastic. For me, that's actually quite a crowd. That's, wow. And of course, as soon as I say that, people are gonna leave. Just kidding. Anyways, so we're gonna cut that out. And let's see what happens next after we remove this. All right, there we go. And then let's try this fold again. Okay. All right, looks good, looks good. Okay, looks pretty good. Looks pretty good to me. We're just gonna do the same thing on the other side. I'm gonna hold this down and slip this ruler underneath. Fold this edge up. There's going to be a tight crease here. Okay. Now let's see how this works. So if we fit this in, that little hole works. Yay! But that's not the main idea here. The main idea is we can now draw a shape here on the side that goes like this from the front all the way down to the back. Oh, that's right on the dot. Wow. Okay. Let's see how this fits. It fits. It ships. Just kidding. Just kidding. Oof, that's a big oof. That didn't really line up. So this actually comes out here. So we're actually off by quite a bit. This is the leading edge. It needs to come down like that. Figured it out. Okay, just gotta erase that front bit there. I feel like for purposes of manufacturability, it has to be pretty angular, but it's still built in a little bit of curves just because okay, now we just need to somehow magically transfer this shape onto the other side. And I have an idea. We're just gonna trace this. Honestly, wish I had proper tracing paper, but I don't. You'd think I would have that, but I just don't. Just have to have really good eyes. But you could use a light table. I do have an iPad, but I just don't want to bother with that right now. The quicker I get this done, the cleaner the solution will be. I mean, I could fold this in half, but I just don't want to ruin this. I guess it is a template, so there's no harm in doing that. It's just I prefer not to do that. See, does this roughly line up? Yes. You can kind of see the tracing. That's okay. Or we could just cut it out and call it a day. Just trace the actual shape. Yeah, sometimes I'm so like convoluted in the way I approach solving these problems. I miss the obvious solutions. That's just how I am, I guess. A little bit scatterbrained. But it's not a very logical process at all. It's quite non-linear. do things. Looks pretty symmetric here. One trick that artists use to make sure things look right is they flip over the entire workpiece and they flip over their reference. Right, so if you're drawing a still life of a vase, you can take a picture on your phone, flip it over, see if your drawing kind of looks like that flipped over image. And the principle behind that is you kind of look at it from a different perspective, quite literally, and your brain doesn't recognize this weird orientation, so it sees a random shape instead of a vase, right? Instead of an upside down vase, you just see a blob of something, and you can match that with whatever you drew. And try and see if you got it down. Okay, let's see how this works. We're at 1:12 right now, so we have about like 18 minutes or so. This is looking okay if we cut this out, right? Excuse me. The idea is that if we build a simple ramp fairing, we can finish out the front however we want. It's just we need to get the fairing itself done first before we build fairings for our fairings, if that makes any sense. Oh, yeah, that's not good for the tip. All right. So now the question is, how do we bridge these two sides together? Because right now we have a piece that goes like this, right? And what we need to do is create some type of connecting bridge, right? So ideally there's going to be some material here, there's going to be some material here. They're going to fold over and meet each other, and we'll be able to tape them together. So to do that, we need to separate these corners, right? Because if you have a corner and you fold along an edge, this entire piece here is going to fold along with it over to the other side. So we need to draw kind of a bisecting angle here. And this is very rough. This is an eyeball job. If you wanted to be more precise, you definitely could. But for me, I'm pretty good at eyeballing, and this looks pretty symmetric to me. Yeah. I'm gonna do the same thing for the back here. Okay. And I don't believe we need this back part. Let's see how this fits actually. So the way this is gonna fit is the front is gonna match that vertex. So it's gonna come back a decent amount. then here in the back, and just do a slant like that. That's kind of what we need. We're giving it a little bit extra space there. I believe that is what we need. And I'm just gonna make that go back a little bit. Actually, it's probably gonna end straight across anyways, because we're keeping both of these profiles the same, symmetric on both sides, to keep the geometry pretty simple. So yeah, that looks okay. Doesn't look too terrible. Get a perpendicular edge going here. Perpendicular edge. Again, you can use a right angle thing to do this. But yeah, I actually have a ruler right here. I don't know why I'm not using it. But this is 1 centimeter. I feel like 1 centimeter should be good enough for a solid tab to attach other geometries to. I mean, that's okay. The front here, is going to be interesting as well. 1 cm perpendicular. So that's that. Then we just gotta give it enough. Give it enough clearance to bridge across to the other tab. Yeah, I apologize. This is not very precise, but for the sake of prototyping, for the sake of just getting this thing done, jeez. We are doing shortcuts and cutting corners a little bit. This, I don't think I'm actually going to include that. I'm just going to cut straight across, but this, I will say, this will go across. This will go across. And we don't need this middle bit here. Yeah. So let's cut this shape out and see what it does. First, I'm going to do a rough outline cut. That's not actually very rough, but you get the idea. Okay, we're gonna forget about, I mean, I guess I could. This is like a nice little guide for the back end, and if we don't like it, we can always just get rid of it. Okay. See, I make these on-the-fly decisions. Sometimes I say something and I don't actually do it. That's a thing I've noticed with myself going through this build process. It's messy, it's chaotic, but the end result ends up being quite nice. Okay, that's kind of the gist here. And then we just gotta remove this little shaded area up front. Okay, that looks good. And then, here comes the fun part. Okay, me just erase that a little bit so I don't confuse myself into cutting that. Just keep that for now. Here comes the fun part of... Okay, I kid. I just need to erase a little bit more. Okay. Cutting apart the tabs. Cutting apart the tabs. Cutting apart the tabs. Honestly, it doesn't have to be precision here, because as long as the tabs can hit each other, then the function of the tab is fulfilled. And we just gotta fold along each tab here. I don't actually know if this is gonna work, but I have a good feeling that it might, because we're just straight up not building on top of the landing gear, but defining the shape in the first place. Okay, that looks acceptable, roughly. And this one here, I'm just folding this. Oh, shoot, we got 7 minutes. If I don't finish today, I'm probably gonna finish over the weekend, but you get the idea. It's a lot of tinkering to get this fairing to work. I may do a quick stream, I'm not sure, but it's definitely not gonna be a scheduled weekly stream. But if I don't stream this weekend, I'll just finish this up, and next week we can continue to the vertical stabilizers and get this thing out of the way and complete, you know. The vertical stabilizers are going to be new too. It's literally everything about this plane is pretty much new in some way. Look at that. It kind of works. Oh, the front has a little bit extra here, but that shouldn't matter too much. This is a little neat little box thing that's contained. And then essentially this goes down. This fits in there. And then you know, we're gonna make this in cardstock final piece, but for now we're just testing the fit, if it'll even work. Yeah, it does. Well, we didn't tape it, but you know, because that would be a lot of tape to remove, but I feel like this is gonna work. This looks like some sort of pod right here, like some sort of fairing already, which is a good sign, I guess. It kind of looks the part. But what's really nice about this is that the side profile is defined very clearly from what we drew. Right, so this little wedge shape here, that's defined, and it's gonna work. And for the final piece, I feel like this middle bit here, I'll cut like this edge and this edge and this edge, a C edge, like a C-shaped edge, and then use that as a tab for this piece, because right now this piece is left hanging. So where did I cut off that piece? Right, so like this is what I cut off. Essentially what I'm saying is, like, this piece, instead of being just out like that, I'm going to cut it so that it folds along this. so that there's a little feet for this little edge here, so that it can attach properly to the fuselage and body. Or actually, this is the wing over here, but you get the idea. And once this is on, once this fairing, over-engineered piece of crap fairing is made, then we can build around that and smooth out the fairing, because that's kind of what we did in the front here, was we built the fairing itself, and then, you know, did some paneling to the sides to smooth out that corner, right? Now it looks very real, almost, because real life airplanes kind of just do that exact same thing, except they're more digitized and catted out and things like that. It's looking all right. This is not bad. So the next step is to make that modified geometry and trim some of these tabs a little bit so that they don't fold over like that. Right, so right now these are kind of overlapped. So if you look at like other 3D model plans, they are notched at an angle, and that's so that they don't actually cross each other, or they have like a little fold, right? So yeah, I guess we can prototype now, like as in doing like a full mock-up using the actual cardstock material. But this is looking nice for the most part. This is you guys are like, this guy's just fumbling with this piece of paper right here. But look at that. If we keep this flat in, keep this in, you can kind of see a fairing already, and the bottom is empty like that, so that it can fit around this this little bit here. So imagine, like, zoom in closer. Imagine this flipping over, right, and covering that, and everything's all taped up and shut. You just slide the landing gear into this little window, press it down, align it, install it, right? And with a stiffer material like cardstock, this is going to be possible. And we'll have to cut a little slot in the middle, build a little door for it. You know, that's going to be okay. That's not going to be too difficult. But it's just getting the fairing itself actually done. This is going to take a little bit. So we have the rough geometry here. It's just a matter of translating it into cardstock and then, you know, making some minor geometry adjustments to the template, and then just getting everything to work. That sounds very easy, but it's what you got to do. So, you know, that's pretty much it for today, and we're hitting the 1:30 minute mark. So we have a template to go off of. We prototyped a template here that's not really useful. It's not very good. But this one right here, I think, has some potential. So we're gonna try and see what we can do with this design here. I think it's gonna look great because we defined the side profile and then built around that with these little tabs, right? So this is what the fairing is gonna look like eventually on the side of this aircraft, right? It's gonna look good. And hopefully this design can be used on the top as well. If we think about the top here, if we have the same relative rough fairing here, that can hold the straw support, right? So imagine the back being open and the straw coming through like that, right? It can be a very clean integration and then we can build around that to smooth everything out, and then the vertical stabilizers will actually be on the straw itself. So this fairing, it might be useful not only for both of the landing gear, it might also be useful for the top as well. So I'm excited to see what happens. So if I have time this weekend, I'm gonna go ahead and make this in cardstock. There's really no need for you guys to see that. It's pretty repetitive. We just copy this template onto cardstock paper, make some minor geometry adjustments in that template that's copied on to the cardstock, and then cut that out and finish up the final part and stick it on here, and then see if it works. So that's the plan. Sorry I didn't actually make anything today. We just kind of came up with this design, but that's the nature of these things. It's takes a lot of tinkering and modification and prototyping to get to a final product, and this is part of the process. So I want to thank you guys for watching. Again, I'll see you guys next week. Remember to stay safe, stay healthy, and continue working on your own projects. If you have any questions, you're watching this at a later date, later time, just leave a comment in the comment section below, and I will try my best to get back to you guys. So yeah, that's pretty much it. See you guys soon next week. Hopefully I can make some progress with this design right here. So talk to you later.